no problem.
And with the 5 chambers in here, only the first chamber, this one, had a door on the gate blocking, because it is believed that the aggressive men among the slaves were kept inside this chamber and enrolled. So from the second to the 5th chamber, they had nothing separating them. But slaves kept inside this chamber could not step in and out of the chamber, because inside your chamber you were in chains and in shackles. Please, any questions before we move? You are welcome. Any questions, please? He's asking if both men and women were kept inside this place. No, I mentioned this place is the male slave exclusively for the men alone. They had 5 chambers for the men, so 1,000 men, 200 men were kept inside the chamber. They had a separate dungeon for the women as well, 100 meters from this one, and we are going to see that first. Please let me. The lights are not working, but this was how the dungeon was when the tree goes not going. These are the shower as one person.
Watch your step. You got it?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Over here we have the 3rd chamber of the male slave dungeon, where we just crossed, being the 2nd chamber. Just like the 1st chamber, 200 men occupy this chamber. Source of light and ventilation, the tiny holes we see up there. Now this hole we see over here was in front of a church. So right above this chamber they built a church. Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, SPG. Now the Anglican Church or the Church of England. So as they were moving inside to worship, they could hear the screams and cries of the slaves, the smell, everything going on down here, yet they worshipped above them. So love your neighbor as yourself was preached above this chamber. But where were their neighbors then? Down here, in pain, suffering, yearning for their freedom, dying, yet they worshipped above them comfortably, claiming Africans were descendants of cursed characters or sinners in the Bible. So they saw no problem with them worshipping above them. Please, let's move on. Alright, so over here we have the 5th and final chamber of the male slave dungeon. And as we all can see, inside this chamber there are no artificial lights. But this place is much more brighter than the rest of the 4 chambers. That is because once the ship finally came to take the slaves to the various plantations or farms, this is where the final selection or sorting out was done, where weak ones were separated from the strong ones. Weak ones among the men were kept into that tiny chamber to meet their fate, because they saw them to be burdened, taking the strong ones because they wanted strong men or people to work on their plantations. And the men had to journey through an underground tunnel that connected this chamber to the door of no return. They had the entrance to the tunnel over here. So once the ship came, the men would start the movement or the journey from this chamber, walk through that underground tunnel, 70 meters walk underground, to the door of no return. But this tunnel was blocked in the year 1834 by Captain George McLean to signify an end to the slave trade. The trade was officially abolished in the year 1807. But even after that, they were still trading them illegally through this underground tunnel. So in the year 1834, Captain George McLean was commanded to seal the tunnel. So if this place was an entrance to that tunnel, it means the shrine wasn't here then, right?
Yeah.
So why do we have the shrine here now? Before the British came, the Africans here were worshipping a god or a deity called Nanatabri. And this god is believed to be the leader of the 77 gods they have in this land. And it's in the form of a rock, a very big one for that matter, that covered this whole area. But then when they came, they saw this place to be a strategic area. And they wanted a solid foundation for their castle. So chose this place, the rocky area, got permission from the chiefs then and built this castle on the rock, the god of the people. But then the Africans who still believed in their traditional form of worship took smaller portions of the rocks into their homes to continue. So in the year 1973, the council of chiefs over here all came together as one, brought pieces of the rocks they took then over here, mounted the shrine for their god to reclaim their god, because they believed this was where the god was located before everything began. So there is a portion of the rock they took there, another portion of the rock up there. This man here is a priest. He is in charge of the shrine. The stools we see there are for the traditional worshippers. So anytime they come here, they sit and talk to him, and he will talk to the god on their behalf. The money we see on the rock, some are offertory from the traditional worshippers anytime they come here. Some are also tokens from tourists, those who believe in the traditional form of worship. And the rates we see here are brought in by tourists like yourselves. They bring them here to show their respect to their ancestors and the slaves that were kept in here, and to mourn those that died in here as well. They believe that even though when they died, they were not buried over here but thrown into the sea, their spirit still remains over here. That is why they bring this street here, to show them respect and to mourn them as well. Please, any questions before we proceed? You are welcome.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick synopsis, what area was this? Right here we're in. That's all I want to know. We're late, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Oh, it's okay.
Yes.
All right. So over here we have the male slave dungeon, where the men, the slaves, were kept to wait for the ship to come for them. They had 5 chambers that accommodated them, this being the 5th and final chamber. Each chamber held 200 men. So the 5 chambers put together 1,000 men. And once you were a slave and you were brought down here, this is where you did everything. Defecated, urinated, fed here, slept here. So due to conditions over here, most of them died. But once you died, they just bagged you into sacks and threw you into the sea. So what we are actually standing on are all solidified wastes of the men kept in here. Their poo-poo, urine, food particles, sweat, blood, vomit, human flesh plus sand, all mixed together, solidified to form what we have over here. Now the men had an entrance to an underground tunnel over here, 70 meters walk underground, that connected this chamber to the door of no return. So once the ship came for them, the men would start the movement from this place, walk through that underground tunnel to the door of no return. But this tunnel was blocked in the year 1834 by Captain George McLean to signify an end to the slave trade.